Welcome back to the Adaptive Athlete Podcast, the place for stories of adaptive athletes in the CrossFit space and beyond. I'm your host, Matt Hotho. On this bonus episode of the Adaptive Athlete Podcast, I'm talking with Shannon Ogar, the head judge for the Adaptive CrossFit Games presented by WheelWOD. In 2018, Shannon experienced a stroke-like event that caused impairments on the right side of her body. And that same year, she competed at the WheelWOD Games for the first time, where she also met her husband, Kevin Ogar, who now directs the games. In our conversation, we talk about what athletes can expect at this year's Adaptive CrossFit Games, happening in just 2 days, as well as Shannon's personal journey and what excites her about the future of adaptive athletics. Since our outro is a little bit different today, I want to let you know that you can follow Shannon on Instagram at @thewalkingogar and catch all the action from the Adaptive CrossFit Games this weekend at wheelwod.com or on WheelWOD's YouTube channel. Enjoy the episode. Welcome back to another bonus episode of the Adaptive Athlete Podcast. I'm here today with Shannon Ogar. Shannon, how's it going?
It's going good. I'm honored to be here. Usually Kevin gets the spotlight, so.
I'm excited to have you on because you are the head judge at the WheelWOD Games, at the CrossFit Adaptive Games, and I feel like I've only ever really gotten to know you in that capacity. And you were telling me that you kind of have an alter ego.
Yeah. Split personality a little bit. I have that persona when I need to. We jokingly call her Sharon. She's the right side of my face because she's kind of a bitch.
RBF?
RBF, absolutely.
Yeah. We'll get to that part in a second. For anybody who doesn't know you or doesn't know your story, they might be like, "What's going on here?"
Why is she talking about herself like that?
Yeah. She's so demeaning. It's like, welcome to the adaptive community.
Where dark humor rules all.
Rules. You know, sometimes I forget that and I'll use the word cripple, in my job context. Like, and they're like, good. Oh, and I'm like, oh, right. This is not a safe place to use that word.
What's really funny is, if I do maintain resting RVF, well enough, you can't really tell that I am an adaptive athlete.
Yes.
And so I'll make those jokes and they're like, oh my gosh, that's horrible. Like the shirt I'm wearing right now, it says I squat more than my husband.
Is he just weak?
Yeah, he skips leg day.
Yeah.
Way too much. It's embarrassing. I do all the legwork in the relationship. Yeah, I do all the legwork in the relationship. I'm his better half and his lower half.
So one thing that I have appreciated about you is your humor online, especially on social media. Some of the jokes that you and Kevin put out. I just remember the time you guys brought the assault runner into the gym.
Yeah, that was a present to myself. And then Kevin felt left out. So we demoed all the different ways a guy in a wheelchair could use the assault runner because, equal opportunity fitness.
Of course.
That's what we go for.
I love it. All right. So your background, though, wasn't always just making fun of adaptive athletes.
Correct. I have become an expert in that in recent years.
Yes. So let's talk about Shannon before all this adaptive stuff. So we were talking a little bit beforehand. You grew up in Atlanta and you kind of just had this interest in learning as much as you could about all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm a nerd. I grew up a nerd. I always want to know more and learn more. My parents are very academic. And so they instilled that in me at an early age, and it continues to this day. An entire wall in our living room is a bookshelf, floor to ceiling books. I strive for the Beauty and the Beast library because I love information and I love knowing why. I was always a why asker. Drove people crazy.
How many books would you say you have? Guessing.
Actually, we didn't do the math. I took a picture and asked ChatGPT to do a quick analysis, and ChatGPT estimated about 400 plus books. Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome. And I love the Beauty and the Beast vibes to it too. I always wished I could have worked in a library that actually had the ladders that you had to climb up to get to the stacks. That would be
Yeah, I've always really identified as Belle. I think in recent years I've realized that, I thought I married a beast and I was the beauty, but really like our dog is the beauty, I might be the beast, and Kevin's that reanimated armchair that just won't leave anybody alone.
Okay.
He's that piece of furniture that just talks now.
I love it. I love it. Nice. So sorry, that one threw me off. That was good. That was good.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. So going back to kind of this desire that you had to like learn a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, we were talking before, and again, like you went to seminary, you've got a master's degree. You were joking that you've got so many letters after your name, more than are in your name. Give me a window into that side of you. Because again, I think a whole lot of people in this community know you as, Shannon, the head judge, or the person who's communicating with us at athlete briefings, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So growing up, I said my parents were intellectuals. My dad is a doctor, and so I've always been into medicine and loved sports. I have two older brothers, so we were around athletics all the time. And so I actually knew since high school, sophomore year of high school, that I wanted to be an athletic trainer. I started my freshman year of high school as a cheerleader and got really mad when they wanted me to turn around and cheer because I just wanted to watch the game. So the next year I asked the head athletic trainer if he could use help on the sidelines. And from there, I went to camps. They have sports medicine camps.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I dove deep into that rabbit hole. But I went to University of Alabama for athletic training. So it's a program that you have to be accepted into. There's about 150 applicants. In my years, they accepted 17.
Okay.
So fairly prestigious
and this would have been like
program.
2010 to like 2013, like when Alabama's like also killing it.
Yeah.
Their program's doing really good. Yeah.
I was the athletic trainer for the football team 2013 and 2014 season. So the infamous kick six, where Auburn ran it back. I was on the sidelines for that game.
Gosh. I was watching that and then went to church the next day at Buckhead Church, and everybody was like losing their minds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was an even split of like Auburn fans and Alabama fans. And oh, man.
Oh, it was unique. And Alabama was, the Disney World of sports medicine. So it was like, if we wanted to try the latest technology, they would just buy it. Like their program was amazing. And I got a really good education for that. Got to work with a ton of different sports and really pick the brains of a lot smarter people. Yeah. So that was super fun. And then I went and got my master's. Can I ask you a question
about the kick six real quick? I kind of moved past that real quick. So 2014, you're on the sideline for the kick six. What's like, I mean, do you remember that moment? Like what's happening? Because I have to imagine you're like, I can just pack up. Like we're good. We're going to get out of here.
Chaos. It was like a movie because it was silence. And then you could hear this growing roar as he ran and ran and ran and ran. And then just bedlam, just absolute chaos. They rushed the field. They started stealing our coolers.
Right. You're like, I got to get out of here.
And you could tell who on the security team was an Auburn fan and who was a Bama fan because people were like shoving fans back and like telling them to get in the stands. And then the next dude over was like cheering and high five as they ran past onto the field. You're like, okay, nobody
People's
knows
true
what's
colors
happening.
come out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So, it was, definitely a unique experience. I got to know athletes, at that high level. And they were just fascinating. It's just social creatures.
Yeah. I mean, especially the ones who are probably either the ones who are going off to the NFL, right? And especially them before NIL and everything we've got today with the transfer portal. When did this turn into a college football show? Sorry.
I'm game.
I was going to say, my oldest stepson's like, he's doing what he's always meant to be doing. So no, and it's like, but also you're getting to meet these athletes that like know they're not going to go on to the NFL, but they're still beginning to play for one of the best dynasties in college football.
Yeah, it was interesting talking to the individuals because you'd be like, oh, what are you majoring in? And they'd say football.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. It was definitely a unique, very well-oiled machine.
Hmm.
And I think through that, it also trained this split personality because I wasn't allowed to cheer. I wasn't allowed to be a fan on the
Mm.
sidelines. It was our goal and mission to be invisible, essentially. We were the invisible assistants. And so um, it kind of developed this sense of professionalism that had carried me well. I think
Yeah.
I revert back to that training a ton, but it also makes me seem like a jerk sometimes. um, because yeah, you have to, you know, there's professional Shannon and then there's personal Shannon,
Hmm.
and it's written all over my face.
Just like game face when it goes
Yeah,
on. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So sorry, I took us down the college football
you're good.
uh, sidetrack, but I think I want to come back to that idea of professional Shannon and like not regular
Mm,
Shannon, but just everyday Shannon. 'Cause I
yeah,
think that's a helpful dichotomy for athletes to know a little bit about if they haven't been to a wheelbot game before, or a CrossFit Adaptive Games before too, because like that can be
yeah,
jarring, the experience.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I think, and I come back to my parents who are awesome. My dad is a cardiothoracic surgeon, so bedside manner was always maybe a little lacking, but the most loving dad you could ever have. And so in a parent, you see the same thing that you can
mhm.
have happy, fun, let's go play ball, let's go, play outside. And then you get in trouble and it feels like it's a different human, but it's not. It's just, discipline takes a different form than play.
Yeah. Yeah. Discipline
So,
takes a different form than play. I like that.
yeah,
I like that. Okay. So after the University of Alabama, you're not done learning. Where are you going next?
not done. Um, I go to University of Delaware for my master's. They are the Fighting Blue Hens, so that was
Nope.
a stark contrast. So
Roll
I went
Tide.
from, oh
Fight
yeah,
blue hens. Fight.
Fighting Blue Hens. Yeah, so went from the Disney world of sports medicine to working as an athletic trainer for a high school
Wow.
wherein I had to use toilet paper as pre-wrap one time. Like
Oh
it
my
was
gosh.
just very, very low budget. Very got creative though, and that served me well as also. Um, and in college, my professor actually was doing his dissertation on the physiologic effects of CrossFit.
Hmm.
And I was a subject. So I got 6 weeks free CrossFit, and then didn't think about it. And then in grad school, I went through a really bad breakup. And then I wanted to lift something heavy and throw it down violently.
And you
So
were like, oh, I like this.
I was like, I remember that CrossFit thing. Let's go back to that.
Yeah.
So um, started back into CrossFit during grad school and was able to use, my education in sports medicine to do that really well. Actually, I was, getting to be pretty good at this CrossFit thing. And I also kind of made a name for myself in the gym as somebody who could help through injuries.
Hmm.
Because there is a disconnect in the healthcare system of, you're sore or something hurts or aches, and you go to the doctor and they say, well, just don't go to the gym
Yeah.
for a couple weeks, just rest it. And you do that, and then you go back, and the same injury
And you're going to
happens.
injure
And so,
yourself again because you're
right,
deconditioned.
exactly.
Yeah.
And you never fix the problem
Hmm.
because ultimately the problem was probably a biomechanical issue, and you revert back to that same pattern or don't correct it,
Hmm.
same issues are going to happen. So um, I saw that disconnect and I actually started my own company. I had an LLC wherein I treated members of CrossFit gyms. It was a cash based practice doing manual massage therapy and then prehab, rehab, mobility courses as well. And it was great. Codependent relationship with the gyms because it helped them retain members. Because a member would come up and be like, "Hey, I have to pause my membership because I hurt my shoulder," and they're like, "No, just go see Shannon."
Yeah.
And then I would work with them to keep them in the gym and keep them getting better and progressing while also getting creative on, okay, so you can't press overhead right now, but what else can you do? And so inadvertently, it started my adaptive coaching kind of toolkit, but in a very different context. So, I started that company, and it was going really well, and that's when I got sick.
Yeah. So tell me about that. I've read a little bit about it online, and it seems like there's some connection with maybe a mission trip you took to Ethiopia, but there's a lot of unknowns about what exactly happened. So why were you in Ethiopia?
I went on a missions trip to Ethiopia. It was part medical missions trip, part just kind of talking and working with NGOs that were overseas. And I was there for about a week and a half. And when I got back, a few days later, I had my first symptom actually was I was drinking coffee, and it was hot on my left side and it was not on my right side. And I was like, well, that's super weird, but I know just enough medical knowledge to be detrimental to myself. So I ignored it like any terrible patient does. And I actually went to my good friend Leslie's house, who works for Wheelwad now. And she essentially tricked me into going to the ER, which I'm very thankful for, but it was one of our first fights.
Yeah. Because you did you not want to admit that something was wrong?
I thought it would go away. And I would say that one of my fatal flaws and my biggest fear is invalidation. Just like, I grew up with a doctor in-house, and so it was always, well, we'll wait till tomorrow, or, it's really not that big of a deal. And I was never a drama queen. That was a negative thing. And so I didn't want to overreact or make it into something that it wasn't. And so the pendulum swung the other way, and I just ignore things till they go away now. So don't do that if you're having a stroke.
Don't do that with your medical health or with your mental health.
Yeah. There's a time and a place for that. But so I went to the ER, and they essentially diagnosed it Bell's palsy, gave me medication and sent me home. And then a couple of days later, I couldn't stand or walk on my own. And then I ignored it again for a little bit longer. Some habits die hard.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Like, I can't get up out of bed, but like, maybe this is how,
It'll go away. It's fine. So I ended up texting Leslie again, and I was like, hey, let's go get lunch. She's like, okay. And I was like, maybe afterwards you can take me back to the ER because I haven't left my bed in 3 days. And she was like, are you kidding me? She got so mad.
She's like, oh, for lunch, let's eat at the hospital cafeteria.
Yeah. You get Jell-O. That's what you get.
And the saddest quesadilla you've ever had in your life.
Yes, absolutely. So we went back, and they did imaging finally, and found signaling, and that was indicative of stroke.
Like multiple small strokes?
Yeah. So every doctor essentially told me something different, which was super fun. Yeah. But because at that point I had been on antivirals and steroids for the Bell's palsy, my blood was clean. So if it was a virus that was contracted in Ethiopia, they couldn't find it because they didn't test my blood. before they gave me antivirals. Um, Another ER doc says, it was CrossFit's fault, that was high intensity and um, that was very stressful. And
So it sounds like doctors then just really didn't know what caused this, but obviously things were happening. And so like, I mean, I'm looking at you right now, and obviously, like, half of your face just kind of isn't quite responding, like the other half of your
it's
face
just
is.
lazy.
It's just lazy.
It's
Yeah.
just lazy.
But what are
Yeah.
other ways that this stroke or whatever it was kind of impacts you this day? Because I think this is a really interesting connection point for some of our neuro athletes, especially who aren't congenital, right? Like me, cerebral palsy, it's all I've ever known. Right? Like this is just how I am. And one eyebrow doesn't quite go up as high as the other eyebrow, but like, okay, cool. It's always been that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you look sassy naturally. Mine came later.
Thank you.
Yeah. Other than me inappropriately winking at people on accident, which is side effect of facial paralysis, my vestibular system on my right side is non-functioning. So the nerves that connect your vestibular system, they died. And then essentially that helps with balance. So I rely on proprioception a ton because my right eye also has some deficits with ocular motor function. So my eye won't track very well and it'll get a little shaky and fatigued, and then it'll just kind of shut down and I'll kind of go blind in that eye. So that's always fun when it happens.
Yeah. And then I would imagine also as like muscular things that happen in the way that you can communicate with the limbs on your right side.
Yeah. So it worsens with overstimulus. When I'm overstimulated, my right arm, I'll lose grip. I'll get super droppy. And then your central nervous system is a very delicate thing. And I think, those with congenital nervous system disorders, they might not and correct me if I'm wrong, but they might not understand, why they're not recovering or they are more sore than other people. And I can tell you from experiencing both, like our central nervous system connects our brain to our muscles, to our systems. And if you want to get super nerdy about it, we can talk about pain science.
Sure. Take me there.
Because I dove into that hardcore. So essentially, science is finding out that we don't have pain receptors in our body. We have 3 different types of receptors: temperature, chemical, and pressure. And one or more of those go haywire, and then it sends a signal to your brain to do a threat analysis, and that tells you, ouch. So that's why everybody has a different pain threshold. Or if I'm outside enjoying a super sunny day, it isn't until there's a change in temperature that I realize my skin is fried and then the sunburn hurts.
Right.
Or if I step on a tack, it hurts, but then a lion comes in the room, I'm not going to feel my foot, I'm going to go pet the kitty because I'm a middle-aged white woman. That's what I do. Just kidding. I run. I run and I don't feel my feet. So all the stories of like the hikers making it down from the mountain with a broken leg or chewing off their arm, it's essentially telling us more and more about how pain is all in your head, but that's the point of it. So your brain is the computer that is telling you, protect this body part. That hurts, that is hot, et cetera, et cetera. With somebody with central nervous system issues, that connection gets a little bit more friable.
Yeah.
So stimulus, super loud sounds, lights, et cetera, that's going to affect that threat analysis a little bit differently and fatigue your system because what enabled body does naturally, ours has to intentionally command. So balance issue is hard. So if I have a battery and 100% is going to one, that's going to be a direct line. But in a central nervous system that's fried, I have 50% that's going to this line, and then 10% focusing on standing upright, and then 10% focusing on my right hand grabbing something effectively, and then 10% working on my eye that's not cooperating. And so it kind of divides that battery to a point where fatigue sets in a lot faster.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense.
There's these things that are autonomic, I guess, these things that like
Yes.
happen without you having to think about it when you're able-bodied. And then when you have the CNS, again, whether it's congenital or an accident, it does take more energy when I have to think about like, oh, I'm actually going to engage my right arm when I press overhead or, do this kind of thing. So, yeah.
Doesn't make it impossible, but it makes it harder.
Mm-hmm. But, and to go into maybe to kind of dip our toe into the classification conversation, it impacts power output.
100%.
Not just in terms of I can't build muscle as fast on my right side or as much as I can on my left side, but when I go to use that muscle, it's not going to put out power for as long as my left side would.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's take para powerlifting, Olympic classification system, they have specific what we call degrees of freedom that they focus on because they know exactly what muscle group is going to press a barbell to full extension. That is one movement. So when we're dealing with our classification system for wheel WOD, it is power output based on the 10 general physical skills, which include balance, coordination, agility, and the list goes on. So it's a power output formula that we have to take the variance template of CrossFit and kind of funnel it through. And that is the depths of the nerdiness of our classification system.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, that's why it's also really hard. Like IF3's had a really hard time standardizing CrossFit to make it an Olympic sport, let alone a Paralympic, or a parasport, because by the time you standardize what the test is and what you're testing, and then make it unknown and unknowable to some degree, right? Varied, not random, and then you have to go, okay, what are these different impairments, and then how do they impact it? So, oh man, I do not envy that work.
Well, and as head judge, it became my job description to explain the nuances and then standardize them as best as I can. So the language matters when it comes to writing the standards of, what creates a rep, beginning, middle, end. That is the standards. However, if you have a caveat of somebody who can't feel their abs, that end is going to look different than somebody who can feel their abs.
Right.
Or if balance is affected, that middle is going to be worded differently than somebody who has no balance issues. And so the creativity that I've learned through the years of dealing with different sports and different biomechanics goes into the development of that every single time we as in Kevin and Stouty create some sort of new movement to torture you guys with.
Sure. Yeah. And then you have to think about, okay, how do I write out a standard for this, for each division?
And then as a competitor, I know exactly how I would cheat. So I write that in there too.
Sure. That's good. Well, let's talk about competition then. So you have your accident. You're having to figure out CrossFit again. You were involved in CrossFit, but now you're doing adaptive CrossFit. And at some point, you discover that there's actually a way to compete doing this adaptive thing.
Yeah, it was really, really humbling. Trying to learn from scratch these movements that I we call them the used to coulds, be very, very good at and proficient at. But my friend at the gym I was going to, she has CP, and she was going to do the open with wheel WOD through wheel WOD. So in 2018, wheel WOD would essentially wait for the open to be announced. overnight, they would adapt it and then they would publish it the next day.
And it was just
And
like
so,
neuro seated 1, seated 2, basically.
correct. Yeah, it
Upper,
was.
lower.
Yeah, I think there was 5 divisions at that point in time. Actually, no. In 2018, I competed in the standing female division.
Mm.
So I was with upper and lowers.
Wow.
And then they would modify it as subcategories, but it wasn't its own division. So they were starting, I mean, they had the logistics and the data from decades. And so they would kind of adapt it subgroup wise.
Yeah.
But it was, I was competing against, at that games, I think it was Beth Tennant and Michelle, and I'm trying to think of who came in second or who came in first. I forget. But yeah, so we were just kind of all grouped together. And so you really didn't have any excuses. It was like, yes, I am differently impaired, but I'm not going to get mad at this chick without an arm.
Right. Right.
For beating me.
Yeah.
Because I would, I guess you could think about maybe would you want to trade or not, but that's not an option. So it's just kind of do the work that's in front of you and deal with it, type of thing. But yeah, so we did the open through Wheelwad that year, and I ended up qualifying for the Wheelwad Games, which were in Canada through the UG series that year, wherein I met Kevin.
Wait, what?
And wait, what? That's our meet cute.
Your meet
if
cute.
you will. Yeah. Actually, our perspectives of that weekend differ greatly. So he would tell you a different story than I would.
Well, you're the one on the podcast right now.
Oh, yeah. Heck with him. His side doesn't get shared. I'm just kidding. He would tell you that he flirted with me all weekend. And I will tell you all listening that he argued with me all weekend. And that is how the weekend went.
No, Shannon, you don't understand. See, here's the thing. Mansplaining is flirting.
It wasn't even that. And I think, honestly, I attracted him by my debatability because I don't back down very easily.
Yeah.
And so, as you could probably guess, but I think we had an hour-long conversation on exercise science and exercise physiology. Somehow that drifted into a theological debate on whether cussing is a sin.
Nope.
And that lasted 45 minutes. And don't tell him I said this, but he ended up being right. And I was wrong. But don't tell him I said that.
Okay.
But yeah, so it was, so that was the weekend, and we started talking and we never stopped. And he asked me for my number via Facebook Messenger. Yeah.
The best.
Actually, I messaged him first.
Okay.
My friends were like, hey, Kevin was asking about you. And I was like, why? And they were like, well, I think he likes you. And I was like, I don't know what to do with that information. And they were like, oh, you should wait a couple of days, play it cool. And I was like, that sounds exhausting. And I grabbed my phone and just shot him a message. And I was like, hey, you're cool. But yeah, so then we started talking, and we ended up dating for 6 months long distance. He was in Denver. I was in Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized I was in Delaware. And and I was like, well, if we're going to, see if this is anything, I need to probably live in the same state as you. So
yeah,
I up and moved. We dated for another 7 months, and then we got engaged, and then we were married 8 weeks later.
Wow. Was that your guys' intention, or was it COVID, or what happened?
It actually it turned out to be a blessing in disguise because, so we got engaged and his sister told us that she was pregnant and they were very high risk, pregnancy. And so she wouldn't be able to travel for probably a year. And, so we were flirting with two dates because either we got married soon or we waited a year.
Yeah.
And so we ended up getting married in, November 2019 because the year date that we were flirting with was March 2020.
Ew.
And that would not have happened.
No.
So we had this talk and we both concluded, I want a marriage, not necessarily a wedding. And so let's just have a party and then we'll be married.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. My wife and I got engaged in October and we're married by February. It was just like we had no interest in, and drawing out an engagement. And our wedding was a party. It was just a nice with people that we really care about. It wasn't about all the pomp and circumstance. It was good.
Bless my Southern mother. So, because I was like,
she was a little devastated.
She made it work. It was a freaking masterpiece of a wedding. But it did stress her out a little bit.
Yeah.
She was emailing me about like the color of the monogram on the napkins. And I was like, Ma, I don't care. But I learned not to say that. You say, I trust your judgment.
Yes.
You have great taste.
Yes. And you've given me that great taste, Mom. Like, Mom, you taught me everything I know. And I just trust you to be able to handle this situation.
Trust you to handle the monograms on the napkins because I don't care.
All right. So you guys are married in November of 2019?
November 2019.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And then it all just shuts down.
Yeah. And then we enter quarantine. So we've been married 57 years because that's like dog years.
Those 2 years, well, 2 years were dog years.
Yeah.
I mean, Yeah.
And we were running the gym. So we had to run this small business. I had actually quit my job. So when I moved to Colorado, I got a job as a medical assistant, and then was working part-time doing, rehab stuff and treating members. But I quit my medical assistant job in February 2020. So that was good.
And that was not related to COVID. That was just like coincidence.
No, I quit and then we went into COVID and I was like, dang, now I can't even file for unemployment.
Oh, jeez.
It was, the Lord provided 100%. It was really cool how he showed up. And then because of Kevin and I's long distance, like we knew how to communicate and we knew we liked each other. And so that helped. But we running a small business. Kevin's main job at the time was traveling for seminars, so he couldn't do that anymore. And it was a unique time. For richer or poorer was for sure tested.
Yeah. Well, and I just love that energy though of like, hey man, we did a 6-month long distance relationship. Like we knew we enjoyed talking to each other. We knew that we were going to put in the effort to make this thing work. And I don't mean this was a college football podcast about 30 minutes ago. Now it's turning into a marriage podcast, but
we can do it.
But like my wife and I, we also connected long distance and we're long distance for about 3 months and just talking so much. And you're right. That's so foundational where you're just like, okay, like I do enjoy talking to you. And so the hard stuff that comes up, like, no, we agreed to like talk on the phone for a very extended period of time. And then we agreed to do that basically for the rest of our lives. Yeah.
Love is not a feeling. So you have to like somebody because love is the commitment. You've chosen to be in it. You've made those vows and sometimes you don't like them, but overall, like, when like fails, love prevails. And so that was COVID for us.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
There was a few times I was like, can you not be there right now? Just move to a different part of the apartment, please.
Well, yeah. And you were telling me before we started recording that like your condition sort of got worse during COVID for a little bit because you weren't as active.
Yeah, I decompensate very, very quickly. So that battery that's diverging to all the different systems, if you don't train it, if you don't condition it, you can decompensate just as
Hmm.
quickly. So when we shut everything down, Kevin was like, I'm going to go to the gym and grab some workout equipment so we can have it at home. And what he chose to get, and this is so Kevin, he got a gymnastics mat and two 100-pound dumbbells.
Because
And I was
bench,
like,
all you need to do is bench.
thanks, babe. I'm going to deadlift. I'm going to sumo deadlift
Right.
and sit ups.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks.
But yeah, it was a very unique time, and COVID wrecked my central nervous system.
Hmm.
That is a unique virus, but yeah, so we got through that, and I feel like now we can get through anything.
Well, you kind of hinted at it when you said, COVID wrecked your CNS. Like when you get sick, I assume when you get sick, like your right side, you could probably
Mm-hmm.
know a day ahead that you're getting sick by the way your right side behaves, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, and knowing, I feel like when I was competing, half of my job was learning how to recover. Um,
110%. Yes.
because it is not just, okay, how hard can you push? It's what are the consequences of pushing that hard?
Yeah.
And how do you recover faster so that you can do X amount of workouts in a day and
Yeah.
not have your efficiency or speed or agility sacrifice because of your impairment?
Right.
Because it's not, we are not able-bodied athletes, and we should not train that way. They can keep going and keep
Hmm.
going, and they recover faster. Our nervous systems are different.
I
That
actually think,
training,
oh, go ahead.
that training is should be dedicated partially to recovery.
Yeah. I actually think, and I'm might be giving away the farm here for athletes who listen to this before the games, but like that's a mistake that many rookies make at the adaptive games. Now, it wasn't so much last year because it was just like shorter workouts that were well spread out. But that year in 23, I feel like an angle that I had was I recovered better than some other people
Mm,
in the field when it was like 3 workouts a day for 4 days. And I think this
mm,
year, with some of the workouts you've released, recovery is going to be a huge part of it. Because if you sell your soul to win that pace boat workout, and let's just say hypothetically, and I don't know anything, I'm not in cahoots with you guys, but let's just say it's the first workout of the day. Are you going to recover enough to hit whatever comes in the evening or whatever might come midday? Once we know what these workouts are, you're going to have to consider how hard do I actually hit that first one? Because I don't get more than 3-4 hours to recover before I got to hit another
mm.
one, perhaps.
That is one of the hardest parts of being on this side of the competition, because my heart is still with coaching,
Hmm.
and I can't say a thing.
No, totally. And I'm not asking you to. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know you.
And,
I
and
know you're
again,
not.
I'm not asking you to. I'm more so just reflecting on that,
Yeah,
especially for athletes with CNS issues. It is so real that like
it's
when
a
you go
different
into,
game.
it's a whole different game. And you can even train it at your gym. You can do 2 a days at your gym. Sure, cool, have a blast. But when you get
Yeah.
in that competition environment, you have to decide, are you able to recover?
And I have a story about that. I'm fairly sure I can share.
Okay.
Um, I'm pretty sure it's fine because this is last year's games. So last year's games, because we are a licensed CrossFit event, they want to take a look at the programming and, kind of dive deep. And we had a workout programmed that was very heavy on volume of dips
Mm.
for seated athletes. And Adrian Bosman was on the call, and he was like, hey, a couple years back at our games, we had a really big issue with dip volume.
Pec
We
tears. And,
saw a lot of pec tears, and I don't think that's a good idea. And we got to educate a little bit about biomechanics and how, for a standing individual, an air squat is how you get on and off the couch, on and off the toilet. Well, for a seated athlete, how you do those movements biomechanically is a dip.
mm,
So volume is different.
yeah.
Yes, if I were to do that many dips, I would hurt myself. But because a seated athlete uses it in their everyday life as a biomechanic requirement for transition, that's the same volume path that we can use for, say, an air squat or a squat for an able-bodied
Yeah.
individual. And so it was a really cool kind of conversation that we got to talk about the nuances of adaptive programming versus able-bodied programming for the games.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Because,
So, yeah,
my thought went right to that, all the pec tears that happened that one
back
year with
tears.
able-bodied athletes.
Yeah.
But of course, they're not training that muscle group necessarily as frequently, just in their day-to-day functional movements
Yeah.
as a seated athlete is. Okay, so as we started talking about the games, is there, as the head judge, is there anything you want athletes to know about as they get ready for stepping into Vegas, for stepping into that convention center? It'll be Wednesday, September 10th, when a lot of athletes are hearing this conversation. So they've got 2 days, and then we'll start on Friday the 12th.
Yeah, I think this year is going to be really fun, to be honest. But fun is a perspective that you bring yourself. And so you have to own your own competition. You put in the work, you've done the training, and now it's time for the test. And the test portion of it is not to degrade or belittle, but it's to see, how hard you've trained and what you need to work on for next year. This year, in anticipation of progressing the sport, we are introducing a little bit more responsibility on the athlete side. Instead of the 30 to 45-minute briefings specific to your division's workouts, the layout's going to look a little bit more like question and answer. So we have all of the workouts. All of the workouts will be released by the time you guys get on site, including movement standards, flow, all that good stuff that you always get. And so when we get to the briefings, you're going to see the floor. We'll go through the flow, and then it's going to be question and answer, but we're not going to read off everything that you could read on your own. So be ready with questions and do a little bit of study ahead of time, just knowing what your job is. Because ultimately, we want to empower the athletes to be a little bit more responsible so that we can build up a bigger and broader team. And it's not just the small group having to lead by the hand. It's, we can branch out a little bit.
Okay. Do you want to talk about more what that branching out means? Do you mean raise up division specialists?
Yeah. So we always consult experts for each division, for all the programming. We have a very, very wide network. And I'm just trying to say this politely. Kevin's been doing this for 10 years. Staddy's been doing this for 10 years. And last year, going from 2023 to 2024, we recognized the need for help because we went from 104 athletes to 276 athletes, and none of us slept.
Yeah.
And it's just not sustainable. And so we are looking to bring on more helpers, bigger staff. And with that comes really intentional education, but also, dividing the responsibilities between the staff and the athletes, and empowering the athletes to make it, be responsible for your own competition and know where you're supposed to be and know what is going on. And instead of just kind of being spoon fed like it was in past years.
Okay. Gotcha.
And we've already seen that progress, because I think everybody remembers 2023 when we had 2.5 hour long briefings, or it was like an hour-long briefings for all of the divisions, and then we broke it down into individual divisions. And so now we're just kind of progressing that step a little further into, the workouts, come with your questions, and then do the work, show your fitness.
Yeah. Something that I felt was missing last year was movement demonstrations, not for every movement per se, but the movements that were a little different, right? A little unique. Are we going to get the opportunity to see some movement demonstrations this year?
Yes. We have a designated briefing area, which is adjacent to our warm-up area. And then we have a lot of athletes who are coming, who are not competing. And so we're hoping to get a broader kind of demonstration. The caveat to that is, briefings will go all afternoon because we're doing division by division by division. And so we are aiming to be better at that. And my hope for this is, eventually we'll have the numbers to have, a demo person for all impairment. But those people need to retire first. We're not going to push that because I personally was forced into retirement and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. So, so I think just patience and how the sport is already progressing and then hope for the future because it's already progressing. So trust the process and just enjoy the ride.
Yeah. I will be honest. The phrase "trust the process" has always kind of been a tough one for me because I feel like it's been weaponized sometimes outside of this context, but in other contexts in my life. But I do think a truth here when it comes to WheelWOD is, we are on the cutting edge. What we're doing with adaptive fitness right now. You were at the games in 2018. That was 9 years ago, 7 years ago. My math is not mathing right now. 8 years ago. 8. Yeah. And in 7-8 years, you're right. It's grown so much. And we're still kind of beta-ing parts of it. But the truth is we got to stay connected, stay in it because we're collecting the data that's going to pay off for the 25-year-old who hasn't found this yet. Right. The 18-year-old whose doctor has told him, hey, you really shouldn't be doing this kind of stuff. And his buddy's going, no, man, you can definitely do this. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And by that, we need more people, not more adaptive athletes. I don't wish that on anybody, but we need people who want to educate on the back end of things, and maybe are done with competing and want to switch over to the dark side like I did.
Well, I think that's a good place to wrap up.
Yeah.
Shannon, thanks so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks, Matt. Good to be here. Kevin always gets the spotlight.
Not this time.
Not this time.
Yeah, take him down a notch.
Yeah.
Take a seat, Kevin. Take a seat.
Yeah. He's already 4'6",
What was that like? I hear girls don't like short guys.
He's a short king. Yeah. He's got, it's funny because he is 6'3", and he wants everybody to know it. And he's a liar. He's 4'6". One time I walked into a store, he went in before me and they were like, "Can I help you find something?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm looking for my husband. He's about this tall and this wide."
Yeah, you'd lose him. You'd lose him in a department store.
His family has a call, a sound that they do to recognize people. And it's hooty hoo. So I was at the store with my father-in-law, very public area, and all of a sudden I hear hooty hoo, and I was like, "Oh man, I have arrived." I'm an Ogar now.
This reminds me of another little aside. What did you tell Lisa Gull that the password was to Kevin's computer or your computer?
My password for some things used to be Kevin's legs, because you always hope it works.
And Lisa told me the story that one day on comms, she's like, Shannon, Kevin's legs aren't working or something like that.
That was good. And I go, try Kevin's legs one. Kevin's legs one. And everybody else was like, what is happening? And it was good. Yeah. You got to have fun with it.
Yep.